In a small African settlement, there lived a greedy rich man named Kofi, who reveled in his wealth amassed through deception and stealing from those who once trusted him. As Kofi flaunted his riches, the villagers began to suffer, losing their homes and livelihoods, fueling a simmering resentment that would soon boil over into a quest for justice. The cries of the villagers echoed through the night, awakening Kofi to the reality of his actions, and for the first time he felt the icy grip of fear creep into his heart. Realizing that he could no longer hide behind his wealth, Kofi made a desperate decision to flee his home, leaving behind the treasures he once deemed invaluable. As he escaped under the cover of darkness, Kofi's heart raced, knowing that the very people he had wronged were now taking back their power, ready to confront him. Kofi's feet pounded against the earth as he dashed deeper into the wilderness, but the cries of the villagers echoed in his ears, reminding him that his escape would not be easy. As Kofi stared into the flowing river, a wave of uncertainty washed over him, knowing that crossing might lead to freedom or deeper into his nightmares. With no other choice, Kofi plunged into the river, propelled by a mix of fear and desperation, while the villagers, refusing to be thwarted, prepared to follow him across. Climbing onto the riverbank, Kofi took a moment to catch his breath, but he knew that the villagers were not far behind and his time was running out. As Kofi pushed deeper into the wilderness, every crack of a twig behind him served as a reminder that the villagers were relentless in their pursuit, fueled by the desire to reclaim their lives. In that moment of desperation, Kofi's mind raced for an escape route, knowing that the villagers were mere moments away from capturing him at last. With the villagers closing in, Kofi felt the weight of his actions bearing down on him, realizing that hiding would only delay the inevitable reckoning. In an act of desperation, Kofi emerged from his hiding spot, declaring his surrender, while the villagers prepared to hold him accountable for the pain he had caused. As Kofi knelt before them, he finally understood the weight of his actions, and in that moment of vulnerability, he sought a chance for redemption amidst the community he had wronged. With every word he spoke, Kofi hoped to bridge the gap he had created, reaching out to the villagers in a plea for understanding and a chance to make amends. As Kofi stood tall, vowing to make amends, the atmosphere shifted slightly, hinting at the possibility of reconciliation between him and the community he once betrayed. In that fragile moment, surrounded by cautious villagers, Kofi realized that trust would take time, but he was ready to walk the path toward earning it back. As the conversation unfolded, Kofi found common ground with the villagers, realizing that healing began with honest dialogue and a willingness to listen. Through shared labor and laughter, Kofi began to weave himself back into the community fabric, igniting a spark of hope for a brighter future together. As the night deepened, Kofi felt a true sense of belonging for the first time, understanding that rebuilding trust was a journey best traveled together. With each story shared, the chasm between Kofi and the villagers began to narrow, revealing the humanity that connected them all despite their past. In that moment of shared vulnerability, Kofi discovered that healing was a two-way street, and together they were paving the way toward forgiveness and understanding. As the night progressed, stories flowed like the flickering flames, creating bonds that began to dissolve the barriers built by past grievances. With each shared experience, Kofi felt the weight of his past lifting, replaced by a sense of hope and community that he had never imagined possible. In that moment of gratitude, Kofi found the courage to embrace his past, knowing that healing was not just about forgiveness, but also about the strength of unity. With the applause ringing in his ears, Kofi realized that he was not alone anymore. Together they were crafting a brighter future filled with understanding and hope. As plans for the future took shape, Kofi felt a renewed sense of purpose, realizing that rebuilding his life also meant uplifting the community he had once let down. With each seed planted, Kofi witnessed not just the growth of crops, but also the flourishing of relationships rooted deeply in trust and collaboration. At the Harvest Festival, Kofi felt a wave of joy wash over him, realizing that together they had transformed not only the land, but also their lives into something truly beautiful. As Kofi spoke from the heart, he ignited a fire of enthusiasm among the villagers, uniting them under a common purpose and a dream of a thriving future. In that moment of unity, Kofi understood that they were not just rebuilding their village, they were forging a family bound by shared dreams, resilience, and love. As Kofi strolled through the village, he felt the unmistakable warmth of acceptance wash over him, knowing he had finally found his place among these incredible souls. With each story shared, Kofi not only learned about the village's rich history, but also discovered the strength that came from embracing both the past and the future. In that moment of celebration, Kofi realized that every taste, every laugh, and every connection was a reminder of the remarkable journey from isolation to belonging. As Kofi played with the children, he felt the weight of his past lift even more, replaced by a profound joy that came from nurturing the next generation.